Hi, hello, good evening, happy Tuesday, guys. 你们好，我是丽玲，她是玉清，欢迎我们的 talk show，我们的 talk show。今天晚上我们要我，跟我们一起跳进兔子的洞。
I don't know why you're speaking in Mandarin, Lin.
Because tonight our guest is bilingual and he does Chinese, English on radio.
So let's try to do Down the Rabbit Hole, episode 8 in Mandarin, shall we?
死了，一定死了，没有人会看，因为他们听不懂我在说什么。
今天星期二晚上好，欢迎来到我们的书面现场直播节目。我是薛青，这位是陈丽玲小姐。
So change to channel 5. Tonight's topic is on putting yourself out there, and we'll share with you in a while why we're choosing this topic. But for those of you who normally join us on Tuesday, welcome back. We took a break last Tuesday to just improve the show a little bit. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, every Tuesday, Jada and I hang out and we invite coaches or anybody actually to join us on an inner work journey. So when we talk about inner work, we're really talking about a space that's held down for you. In this case, it's about 60 minutes normally when we have a guest. And it's a space for you to really just look within, look at what's going on in your inner world and looking at things that we are normally too busy to look at, right, Jada? That's what Down the Rabbit Hole means.
Yep. Well, we chose the name Down the Rabbit Hole because we wanted to follow the story of Alice in Wonderland, where she followed the white rabbit down into Wonderland, where she started seeing an alternate universe that is different, that is strange, that is absurd and totally different from her current reality. So Down the Rabbit Hole, this talk show really is our metaphor for an entry into the unknown. And in the past 7 sessions, okay, that we've talked about many different things. We've uncovered courage, we've talked about fears, we've talked about self-judgment. We started also talking about success. What is it about success? What's the mindset behind successful people and how do they get there? And today's conversation is also a very critical and important part about success, right? About putting yourself out there.
Yes, so we wanted to empower coaches because we know a lot of coaches, they want to build their brand or their business. And while they're so busy, working on their coaching skills and making sure that they're really good coaches, but when it comes to putting themselves out there, that they tend to freeze a little bit. I run the Business Accelerator for Coaches program, and I know, kicking these coaches' ass to put themselves up onto LinkedIn to film their own videos, it took a lot of effort. I really understand why we all get stopped at this.
Yeah.
So we decided to choose this topic to empower coaches to work on these business or success related topics.
I think often, right, as coaches or even any one of us who's constantly consuming content, we go onto social media, we see people who's always talking about, what's going on in their life on Facebook, on Instagram, and you see that the image of confidence, the image of like how they can just keep go on talking and talking, right? And you just wonder, how do they do it?
Yeah.
So that was a question I myself asked. And when I wanted to do that, I was stuck. I was like, how am I going to do it? And I remember, Lin, that's when I first came to you and I said, okay, maybe let's do something to really just push ourselves out there. And you suggested the idea of Facebook Live. And that itself has been a whole journey in the last 7 episodes. I think that's something we really need to unpack so that more coaches can go out there, put themselves out into the world so that we can bring more positive impact.
You're right, because actually when the coaches put themselves out there, they have wonderful things to say. They really have messages that the world needs to hear. So I think we are, okay, well, let's not talk further. Let's spend this next 1 hour and hopefully inspire / nudge coaches to start putting themselves out there. So before that, we want to say hi to those of you who are joining us. We have Karina. Hi, Karina. We have Ben. Hi, Ben. And Ben is going to be our guest for on next Tuesday's show. And we'll talk about that at the end.
We have here also Meda. And Meda say, 你们好. Hi, Meda, 你好.
Oh, Meda 姐,你好. 我很好. Okay. So let's without any further ado, let's bring on our guest. Let's introduce our guest. And we are so fortunate to know somebody who's literally in the limelight every single day. Every single morning, he is talking to 1,000+ people live on Facebook. So he knows his game. He's gone through his own journey, and we've seen him from since more than 10 years ago, and where he's at now. So Jada will share more about who Andrew used to be. But we're bringing on Andrew Tan, and he's a radio DJ on the Morning Drive Belt. He's a bilingual DJ, so he's with a channel that does bilingual stuff. And he's made it into the list of top male local DJs to watch. Okay, so we can't wait to unpack what goes on in the mind of somebody who's used to the limelight.
Are we inviting Andrew in?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say a bit something about yourself. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was totally not smooth transition. Okay, well, let us just let me say a little bit about Andrew. I know him, I think more than 10 years ago, almost 13 years ago in 2007. And back then, probably Andrew was really just still in school. He was in SMU studying. And my experience with Andrew has really been one of like really close, dear friend. We grew up together. We put ourselves through a leadership journey where we had to train ourselves as coaches. We had to work closely to lead and lead workshops together. And I think he's more than a dear friend. He's like comrade that we've worked together. And to see Andrew, I used to remember how Andrew, he's never really thought about wanting to be a DJ because he's always been really comfortable being at the back. But I know he's got this dream of wanting to put himself out there to speak. He's always been passionate about speaking. And to then finally one day out of nowhere, suddenly I heard or learned from Facebook or social media that he's become a DJ. I'm like, oh my God, Andrew, how do you do that? How did that happen? And so I was really happy to see that dream of his, coming true, and just really honored and happy to have him here on the talk show together with us this evening. I think without waiting and talking more, let's get Andrew on. Hello.
Hi, Andrew.
Hello, Lin. Hello, Jada.
Sorry to make you work at night.
Andrew, we can't see.
It's gotta be bedtime soon because I'm in the morning shift, right? So I start at 6 a.m. every day.
And what time do you wake up to prepare?
Oh, before 5 a.m. Right.
Andrew, we can't see you. Put on your video.
Oh, okay. Give me 1 second.
Andrew, by the way, is very cute. There you go.
You would think that I should know this better, right?
Yes,
being
totally.
on Facebook Live every day. Oh, by the way, I love the Mandarin bit.
Oh.
Because I do know you coach in oh, 还不错. I don't know you coach in Mandarin, so that's you've done it before, right?
I've trained in Mandarin, broken Mandarin. No, I had
conducted workshops in Mandarin, right?
In China, of all places.
Yeah, exactly. So this shouldn't be too difficult for you.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. So if you are looking at this, one of the things you can do is to comment and share it, because it takes time to build up like a Facebook platform, like a weekly show. So exactly, right? So give a shout out. Some of us are shy about sharing stuff on Facebook, I understand, but it's if you find it helpful, it's the best way to support Lin and Jada and this collective change institute and this Down the Rabbit Hole program, because I've been watching a few episodes for myself.
This is the expert talking. See, the expert knows what to do.
Yeah, get them to comment, get them to share, and ask any questions so that we know what you're focused on as well.
Yes, so the talk show is interactive. Andrew, at some point, if there's a question you want to pose to the audience, do that. Or if there's a little activity, ask them to use emoticons to sort of express themselves. Do that, because most of the time people are quite enthusiastic, and they would, and we want to bring them on this journey. It's not just us talk. Okay, so thank you all of you who are joining us. So if you just joined, we have some new people joining. Can you just wave and say hi, or just click the like button so that we know that you're with us? So Andrew, maybe start off with, oh gosh, how many years ago just what happened basically? How do you end up being a radio DJ? And what was that period like, sort of going from behind the curtains to now standing in front of the curtains?
Oh, the first question itself needs a lot of unpacking. So first of all, I mean, Jada, I was listening to the introduction, and for a while I didn't think it was me. What top male local DJs to look out for? Okay, whoa, it's like, am I coming up next? But Jada was talking about she knew me as more of someone who's more comfortable behind the scenes, or like, maybe I don't put myself out there. But you see, if you don't know me well enough, or if you knew me when I was younger, you might not think that of me. You might think that I'm someone who always likes to put myself out there, because like, I think we all have different parts. Some of us have more introverted parts of us, and there are more extroverted parts of us. So I don't think it's cast in stone. So if you get to know me better, then you would say what Jada would say, like, oh, Andrew, he seems like he's more comfortable behind the scenes. Although first impression, you might think that, okay, like he's always out there, up on stage and all that. So what happened? How did I get involved in being a DJ? Never imagined that I will be in this industry, because, well, just a quick story about why I think I would not be in this industry, right? Because Jada mentioned I was from SMU, so there was this competition organized by the Broadcast and Entertainment. So they do radio, they do like hosting of events. It's a club in my school, so they have a competition, like, for hosts. And I took part in the competition. I went for the audition, and one of the things that they made me go through was this final round. Okay, it's still the audition phase. I didn't get past the audition phase at all. So here's what happened. So in the audition, they gave me a mock-up scenario. The scenario was that I'm supposed to host an event, something like an art gallery, to a group of visually handicapped people. That was the question that they posed for me. And so, I was ready to impress them. You got to start off strong, right? So I started off saying, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, even though it was a made up scenario, it wasn't even real, right? I'm just presenting to my seniors who are testing me with this question. Imagine that I'm presenting to a group of visually handicapped people, but I could feel the awkwardness. Like, I said the wrong word. How could I say that? Boo-hoo, the first sentence, I got it wrong. And so I never got past the audition, and I didn't even join the club after that. I just gave up on that part, So that was what happened back then. And so how did I get involved is that, when I was, Jada mentioned that we knew each other when I was 21 years old. So back then I was like trying to figure out my career, or trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do in this lifetime. And I was trying out a lot of different things. And one of the things that I was trying out was like, going up on stage, speaking, or doing training, or going to schools and providing some form of like public speaking training, that sort of thing. And I'm interested in that aspect. But what I realized is that looking back, and this is upon looking back, is that, when I'm up on stage and I'm trying to present a certain part of myself, it feels that I have inherited certain behaviors or other speakers that I've seen. And I thought that, okay, I should be presenting myself this way. I should be, carving out my career path this way. And so I learned from what I see. And it's only upon a few years later that you realize that, okay, yeah, like trying to download and install different programs, but they are useful skills. Like, public speaking or being more extroverted, being more outspoken is a useful skill to have. But you got to find out who you really are before you can really figure out what you want to do in this lifetime. So what happened before I went for my SMU audition, for the Broadcast and Entertainment audition, is that my friend told me, you got to show them the real you. And I was like, okay, sounds great. And so I walked in. Therefore, I have the idea that I want to impress them with my first line, and my first line was bomb, right? So what happened was that instead of trying to show them the real me, I was trying to show them an idealized version of myself, an ideal version of me that I have in my mind, and I want to show you that ideal version of me. And so it's upon realizing that then things become clearer for me about who I am and how I want to present myself. And that's what I'm doing today. Still learning, still a process, still ongoing.
Wow, a lot of things to unpack.
That's right. Because I was like, wow, that's more than 10 years of a journey to share about. So I think I'll start off with this.
Yeah. So so what I'm hearing is that when you, because of course I know you shared about the journey, the story of how you went for the interview and all that, right? But what I caught was about you initially were taking models or behaviors that you saw from other people and use that as a way to present, right? And then along the journey, then that's when you found you kind of like realize that you need to show the real you instead of the idealized version of you, right? I mean, that is in a gist what you were talking about. But Andrew, can you share more and you tell us a little bit more by what do you mean and say to show them the real you? What got you to then realize that or learn that you have to begin showing yourself to the real you to your audience?
Okay, so the thing about the real you is that it's an ongoing process. So I was saying earlier, like there's the introverted part and there's the extroverted part, right? So even I myself thought that I was extroverted. And it's upon knowing me better, like Jada said, like, okay, so there's a part of me that's more introverted. So it's about understanding that. And when you are a DJ, you're speaking on air every day. If you're not real, your audience kind of knows it. You'll know it intimately because all they have is the only medium that they have is audio, which is your voice, and it does show up. So I think for me the process was that I think I started off very awkward. So the thing about DJ is that last time you just need to turn on the mic and you speak, but now times have changed. We're all doing Facebook Live, like you guys are doing. So there's also the visual aspect, and I'm not used to it, right? And so what happened was that I started off very awkward. And that's because it's linked to the audition story, because I realized that in order to overcome awkwardness or even to convert that awkwardness into what you might say confidence, right? Is that, hold on, give me a second. Right. Can you hear me better? It's all good?
Take your fan.
And other stuff. Like,
okay.
The router or something. So is it okay? It sound good? Because I'm conscious and particular about sound. Okay, so I was saying that I started off awkward, but after that, I realized that the one thing that shifted that awkwardness to confidence, because you've tried different things, right? Like they tell you, okay, imagine the mic is your friend, or imagine the video camera that you're looking at is your friend. Like imagine you're talking to a group of friends in your Facebook Live. And I tried all those, but it didn't really work very well for me until I had this shift in my mindset. And this one thing changed how I approach the way I host. And I'll tell you that one thing after the break. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No.
We've got a word from our sponsors.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll play 2 more songs. Okay, occupational hazard. Okay, that's no break. Like, okay, we'll come back from the break. So that one thing that I learned was that when you're awkward, most of the time you're just trying to control people's perception of you.
Yeah.
So you gotta let go of what people think of you. Like, we want to look good, right? I want to look smart. I want to be funny. I want to like really host very well and all that. But we're less than perfect. We're not ideal. So once again, projecting that ideal version of yourself. But we are all less than perfect. So it's about embracing those parts of yourself that are not perfect, your screw ups, your embarrassing moments. And even if there's something that you don't know on air, you just admit it and acknowledge it, and then you can move on from there. And that's more grounded and that's more real. And so it's this shift in mindset that, like, just let go of what people think about you and embrace the parts of you that you feel embarrassed about. Wow. And that might be helpful.
You say it like it's so easy, but I'm sure it took you years to fully embrace that, right? I mean, you don't wake up one day and suddenly go, well, screw how everybody thinks about me. I am me.
Even right now, actually.
Even what?
Even right now, it's an ongoing process.
Yes. And I wanted to ask you, so you had a bit of a trauma at the beginning, right? You made a mistake, you auditioned, you blew it. Okay, but you didn't stop there. You didn't make some kind of conclusion where I'm not meant to be, or this is, you somehow came back. Okay. So what were some of the struggles that you faced in the last few years, especially the initial years of putting yourself out there? Like, what were some of the inner world struggles that Andrew went through that nobody knew? Because when you go live, you're Andrew on air. It's different from.
Okay. I think the biggest struggle is, presenting yourself like we say, the real you? And that's a whole loaded question by itself. Well, the thing is, when you're up there on stage, or when you're up there, on air, or doing your work, you're definitely a heightened version of yourself. You're definitely cherry picking some parts of yourself to present so that the show can go on. Not so much of how you want people to perceive you, but because the show requires a certain energy or a certain personality in order for you to drive the thing forward. So you see, that's the difference. Like, okay, if I'm thinking about, okay, I want to present the best part of myself so that people will like me, or I look good in front of people, then it will go a certain way. But if I'm thinking about the show and what's required of the show, then I will go another way. So here's the thing, I went to watch a live recording of a variety show in Taiwan before, and the host was up and they're like, whoa, hello everyone, the energy is so high up. And then there was a small little TV, because we are the audience, we're just looking at the live recording. There's a small little TV. And I was looking at the TV and I realized that when the host's energy are up there, they need to go so high so that what's presented on the TV screen, on the small TV screen, is the right amount of energy.
Wow.
And so that's when you realize you need to really put it a lot more, like being your normal self doesn't cut it. Like you gotta put it a bit more, but it's still you, but it's just a little heightened version of yourself. And you gotta realize that when you are doing a show. So in order to answer the question, the struggle was that, like how do I present myself? Like, I'm not really sure. Am I overdoing it? Is this too much? Or am I doing too little? So you're just trying to find a balance. And in between, you have your off days and it's awkward and it's bad. And you just kind of like trudge along and see how it goes. But it's a muscle. I think the good thing is that I get to practice every day. Like, we turn on our Facebook Live every day. So, okay, we go on air every day, that's a given. But we also turn on Facebook Live. Not many radio stations do this. We turn on our Facebook Live every day from about 6:30 a.m. to the end of our shift, which is 10 a.m. So that's 3.5 hours of Facebook Live, Monday to Friday. Walking into my studio is like walking into a reality TV set, and the TV, the screens, the cameras are on you all the time. We have like multiple cameras in the studio itself, and it's 3.5 hours every day. So you kind of get used to it. It's like a muscle that you can train. So I think like repetition, that helps. Getting to know your audience, because they're always the same people who go online, and you get to know them better. Knowing them helps, because then they're not just like invisible mob behind the screens, right? And so I appreciate, pre-COVID, we have events and we can really look at our audience, we know their faces. And next time when I see their comments, sometimes our listeners text in to our station's number. We have a WhatsApp and all that. So it's like, oh, okay, I know you. I've seen you in the previous events. And all this helps. So it's repetition, getting to know your audience, and just like failing and fumbling along the way.
Failing and fumbling along the way. Again, you say like it's so simple, but I just want to agree with the repetition thing. And it's like really a muscle that you build, and you get used to the light. There are many levels behind that, but it's like Jada, right? We spoke about how at the beginning, our very first show, Andrew, we were so nervous, and we had our flow out, we had our notes, right? We met like an hour before, and we were really nervous. And then after that, every week, by the second week, actually, it was okay. We're going live, cool. And then third week, fourth week, and then today it's really like, just gobble dinner down 10 minutes before and just jump on. Like, you don't even think about it.
That's
right.
Building the muscles.
Yeah.
Right. And we got on earlier before we started live at 9 p.m., right? Yeah. And then like it was just to choose backgrounds.
Hey!
I've chosen a very nice background. It's a white background so that it's cleaner. But then Jada was like, you must have a background. Okay, I'll find a background that's compatible with the both of you as well. Yeah, so in fact, I asked Jada last time, Lin, when you were off the call, because I know about Down the Rabbit Hole. I've watched a few episodes myself, and I know that Jada always posts on her Instagram, on her IG story, right? Like she feels confronted about it, like like this is not her thing, and I totally relate to that. So here's the thing, like, so Jada, what's your relationship with doing this Down the Rabbit Hole right now?
Ooh, Coach Andrew.
Or the occupational hazard of like asking my interviewees questions.
No, so I was sharing with Andrew, and I think Lin, that is something I think we can all agree on. Initially, it was all nervous, right? Like before the first episode, I was gonna say first season. Sorry, we're not at first season yet. Before the first episode of Down the Rabbit Hole, my hands were clammy. I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna say? What is people going to say? Are we gonna say the wrong word? And then even after the call, I had so much of an inner critic going on. Like all the things that I felt could have been done better. I was having a lot of like the inner judgment. But then subsequently after that, it became more about just going with the flow, having fun, just enjoying the process and thinking about ways to improve. I think so in that sense, that mindset has shifted. But in order to get to the mindset shift, it was really the whole jumping in that was difficult, because I think a lot of time coaches get stopped at the jumping in because we are just so confronted with the whole, what will people think of us? Am I going to say the wrong thing? Will I look stupid?
Yeah.
You know?
And I just want to say, to add that my very first time going Facebook Live was with Eric Feng, and we had like hundreds of people dialing in live. And we met, Eric and I met, about like half an hour before the show. And at the last 10 seconds, he was like, okay, Lin, we're going to go live. All right, this is the fun part. Live in 3, 2, 1. And and you know what hooked me? When he said, Lin, this is the fun part. And I just, in that moment, I felt like if I could reach that level where this is fun, that you feel the adrenaline, I want that. I don't want to feel nervous and scared and preoccupied with how people think about me. I want it to be like a ride. And I want to know that when I put myself out there, I'm having fun, I'm shining, I feel freedom. That's what I want. So I think in that moment now, when I think about it, like there's few sentences that one sentence that he said kind of gave me that dream, that end point, right? That goal. And it's like, I think maybe what I want to put out to everybody is there will always be fears. We will always be stopped, right? The fear seems so big and so real, but the dream or the vision or the idea that you have has to be bigger than that, so that it really draws you past those hurdles. And a lot of times when coaches finally put themselves out there, they text me back after that and they say, damn, that was quite fun. That was really good. And I realized that actually so many people support me and they get benefit out of it. And I wouldn't have known if I didn't put myself out there. And because I mentioned I run a business accelerator for coaches where they have to put themselves out there. Do you know that there are coaches who did that? They just put one post and they actually got opportunities out of it. You just have to there's no other way. No matter how brilliant you are, if you're under a stone, you can't help anybody. You can't inspire anybody. You can't make any move, make any ripple of change in society. And when we talk about putting ourselves out there, so far the context has always been in front of camera, right? In front of people. But we have corporate people here as well. And I think it's putting yourself out there also means putting yourself out in front of your stakeholders, your employees, going on stage, go and do that public speaking gig, go and host that conference. You have to be seen. That's only when people can see and recognize your talent.
I'm nodding and I'm agreeing with that, because I think that the very first step is that you have to jump in. You just have to really jump in. And because the moment you jump in, then that new world opens. And then the next thing that comes along is what Andrew said about being real, being authentic. Because if you're not real, you are not authentic, you're faking it, then whoever you're addressing or talking to will not get to know who you really are. Yeah. And then after that, that's where then you carry on your repetition, building your muscle, fail and fumble, and then you get better. I think that's like basically the 3-step process so far that we've talked about.
Okay, 3-step process. Thank you, Jada, for that. We have some comments. So I'm just trying to open up the comments. Okay. We have some questions for you, Andrew, actually. So lovely audience. Thank you. And, feel free to ask Andrew any questions. This is your chance to catch him.
So I'll just add on while Lin is looking at the question. So one of the things that Jada also shared was that, the first time she's nervous, but right now she's just thinking about how to make it better, how to get more people to watch it. So that's the thing, like, you've got your spotlight, Lin's got a tiara, I've got my red curtains. So it's like, after you've gone past that initial stage of like apprehension and fear and anxiety, right? Then you start going to the next level, which is the next challenge. Like think about how to make it bigger, how to make it better, how to get more people involved, etc., etc. So Yeah. So when you post the IG story, I relate to that about you, being confronted. But I know that you'll get there somehow after a few more sessions.
Oh, thanks for believing in me.
Right.
So we got a few questions on the chat that I think Andrew, the audience will want to ask from you, ask you. So Lin, is there anyone that you particularly want to unpack?
No, but like we have had more people join us. So we have Aaron. Hello, Aaron. Hi, nice to have you join us. Aaron has a question as well. We also have Hazel who says, "Hi, Lin and Jada. You guys look like princesses."
Any newly graduated coaches among the audience?
Yes, we have Karina. Karina's newly graduated, and she said, "Whoa, Andrew, you just articulated what it means to be human so beautifully." To your comment in the first couple of minutes when you were sharing your story, Andrew.
Okay.
And we also have Ching Ching Chui. Hello, Angie. Didn't know you are a coach.
I think that's the Ching Chi I know, right? Well, I wouldn't call myself a coach in front of the master coach, but I've gone through training, so that's why I'm at. And it was fun. It was useful, very helpful too.
Okay, so let's take our first question from Aaron, and then Ben will come to you. So Aaron said,
Okay.
"How did you manage the transition?" Okay, so I'm assuming it's the transition from Andrew's life to being in the spotlight all the time and being comfortable with yourself.
Okay. So we'll frame it that way, so that makes it a little easier. Well, I kind of fumbled into the radio DJ occupation because, well, I was looking for fun things to do, and I had an opportunity to do it part-time. So it's just on the weekend. And to me, it was just like because I already gave up on the dream a long time ago, right? Because of my bad experience. But there's this opportunity, and it's not like I have to go on air immediately. You still have to go through training. So whatever, right? I don't lose anything. I was already working. So I just went to understudy the DJs who are already super pro at what they do. And so from there, I realized that it's really fun to manage the whole flow of a program, to interact with the listeners, and to present a topic in a certain way that engages people. And so that's where that's how I got started being interested in this line. And then there was an opportunity that opened up. So at every stage, it seems like there's a push factor. It's like, there's an opportunity that opens up. Do you want it or not? Even though you've had a bad experience. So then you just got to go for it. And I went for it first. I jumped into the rabbit hole first before thinking. And so I put myself in uncomfortable situations. That's what I would say. And sometimes there are moments where I regret it. It's like, if I can just, be more, be not, because a radio DJ is still sort of like a public figure. Like people know you, and you're putting yourself out there every day, actually. So that's really nerve-wracking, and it might cause anxiety sometimes. But I'm really there, and I'm learning from really pro seasoned veteran DJs, and I'm learning new stuff every day. So that's how I'm transitioning. And I'll say that I'm still in the transitioning process of it.
So I'm hearing, Andrew, that I think when you talked about learning and being around these veterans, it sounds like your focus is actually more on the craft, the process, the learning, as opposed to being obsessed with, oh my God, I'm going out there, oh my God, what people think about me, and all the inner chatter that sets you back. Am I right to say that?
That's right. Because I'm hearing this line more frequently recently, which is like, I'm here to entertain people. Like a few different hosts have said that, like, my job is to entertain people. And that sounds like something maybe I could do, because if I were to say something like, oh, I'm here to inspire people, well, that seems like a really high bar, right? But if I'm here to entertain people, and if I keep that in my foreground of what I'm doing, which I'm not too used to, like, even entertaining itself, it's a very difficult thing to do. And sometimes I forget, sometimes I focus on like the show, because I'm very logical, and I follow the program very closely. Like, I don't want to overrun, so if you don't want your show to overrun, you find me. But then I miss out certain moments, right? Like if I'm hosting a show, like, I'm on time, everything is going accordingly, but there's just no spark. If you're just too hard up about the rules or being too strict about it. And so it's about learning that process. So what I've learned from my seniors is that, sometimes you just make mistakes, and you just roll with it. The old me would just make no mistakes at all, and that's the only goal. No word will be wrong, but right now it's like if I've said something wrong, I'll just try to roll along with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean, you
it's
can't
more
like be
fun.
obsessed with no mistakes, right? The moment you're obsessed with no mistakes, you're focusing
Setting yourself
wrong.
up for failure.
Yeah, exactly. You hung
Right.
up. You basically your head's up your tooth, and you just can't be with what you're supposed to be doing. You're just obsessed with yourself. You're just obsessed with yourself, actually.
Right. And if I talk about process, since Jada shared about her first time, so I'll talk about my first time on air as well. It's nerve-wracking. You're just trying to get by, right? Because
Yeah.
well, the worst thing that can happen to a DJ is what we call dead air, which is silence. You know, the music stops playing, no one's talking, it's just silence on air. And that's a sin, right? That's the worst sin that you can ever commit. So for the first show, I have had no one with me. So right now, what they do is that when there's a new DJ, I've been assigned to, like, you know, just stand at the side. I'm not supposed to talk or anything. I'm just there in case something screws up and I can jump in and help. But when I first started, I didn't have that. So I was like telling my supervisor, like, hey, why did I have that when I started? You know, like I'm just like thrown alone out in the wilderness, alone in the studio with all the buttons and the knobs and the faders and the controls. We have like two, you know, computer mice, two mouse, you know, and three computer screens, and there's so many things to focus on. And it's very easy to screw up. And so for the first session, I'm just thinking like, okay, just get by today. All you need to do is just get by today. Don't have to worry about your personality. You know, are you presenting this topic well, or is it interesting? Am I engaging the audience? These are important, but not for your first show, right? You know, you just want to get by. And then after that, once it's like driving a car. So especially if you are learning manual gear, right? So it's like there's so many things to remember. Check the rearview mirror, signal, turn right, etc., etc. So that there's so many things to do. But once you get all the skills, you know, you've gotten them down and they're like in your background, that's where you can think about personality. You know, how can I make it more interesting? How can I make it more engaging for my audience?
Yeah. So it sounds like as the part, I mean, the part of honing your craft is also just setting like simple goals, simple milestones to hit, as opposed to like an overwhelming idealized expectation of how you should be, right? Because the moment it's
That's
simple,
right.
it cuts away all the other noises. You just keep one simple goal. It's like how coaches, you know, when you first begin to learn coaching, you just keep a simple framework and just keep practicing that, and don't think so much about all the other things.
Yes,
Right. If I
you know,
think about what's that one question that I will ask that will break you
yeah,
down
like
and make you cry.
style. You know, new coaches who ask me,
Yeah.
oh, how do I find my style? I just like, sorry,
Ooh.
I secretly roll my eyes behind. Not because I judge you, but style will not come up at the beginning. You cannot be obsessed about style, right? You got to be doing the right thing and doing your thing well. Then when there's freedom, then your charisma will show up.
Yeah, it's just
We have
not
to
the
do a
right
topic
time.
on charisma. Yes.
And we know who to get for that.
We have more questions, but I wanted to add, you know, to Jada's point about focusing on that one thing. So when I decided this year, just the last couple of months, to put myself out there, I knew that, you know, that social media is a trap. Like it will take over your brain and it'll tell you, nobody liked it, nobody shared it, you're lousy, don't do it anymore. I was very aware of that. So I just had a very small goal of I'll just write something that is authentic to me, I'll put it out there. And if anybody likes it or shares it, even if it's just one person, I know that I impacted one person. That was all that I was looking for. So it wasn't so much a number game, but it was to see, okay, does my message resonate with people? And if not, I will retweet the message. It was really about that. And then after that, when I posted my first Forbes article, I had a stranger in my LinkedIn network share it with her network, and then her network was commenting on it, and it was just one. Okay, who cares? I had one share, but it was a stranger, somebody I didn't even know, and that was when I went, check, fulfilled. This is putting myself out there. I just need to know that somebody got something from it. Full stop. And so, you know, my point is, be very clear about what this is for you, putting yourself out there. And just go small. Don't set up high expectations. Don't try to be the ideal you that Andrew spoke about. Just keep your expectations very low and you build from there, as opposed to set it too high and you're just gonna kill yourself, because social media is utterly brutal.
Right. And when you shared, that reminded me of something. So one of the things when I first started, and I got this from my friend who's also a DJ. So we are both interested in theater, like we like theatrical performances, and we sometimes share about them on air. And so what we do is that we talk about this show, and if you want more details, go to this website, call this number to get tickets, right? So the goal we set for ourselves is that as long as one person write in to ask for more information, like, hey, what was the link? How do I get tickets? As long as one person writes in, we're happy. Like we're satisfied, But of course, after that, we get more people. But for a start, it's just, as long as one person, get something out of it.
I think it's very important because that feeling of hitting that goal, right, however small it is, just returns you back the whole motivation of wanting to keep doing it, right? This feeling that you're winning, you're progressing.
Yeah. On that note, and progressing is important when it comes to putting yourself out, because it really is a black hole. It's a black hole. I mean, seriously, anything can happen. You know what I mean by that? Like, there is no plan that somebody can give you and go, hey, Jada, this worked for me, so it's going to work for you too. Because all of us are so different. Our network is so different. Our style, our message is so different. And there isn't a success formula. You just have to put yourself out there and figure it out. So as long as you win one day at a time, you're doing well. Andrew, Ben Low has a question for you. Biggest challenges and stresses of being a DJ? It's like fan question. You got fanboy Ben.
Biggest challenges and what stresses? Not getting enough IG followers. No, one of the things is like, that's something that we do have to work on. I mean, whether it's a responsibility to myself or my company or to my clients, right? But Jada will know this. Like, I'm not exact. It's the same thought process. Like, if I post something on IG, do people care? And then you stop yourself from doing that. So on the social media portion, I would say outright that I'm not too good at it yet, and I'm still learning. But what I tell myself is that sometimes I feel that I'm just thinking of myself as someone who's like, social media is not my thing. And I'm using that to make myself feel better. But no, I'm just trying to avoid the conversation of having to put myself out there, right? Like I get, social media, and all this, like, just like humble bragging and things like that. Like, you can use that to console yourself. But you know that in this day and age, you got to, especially in coaches, or if you're an artist in the media industry, right? You got to put yourself out there and you got to do some form of self-promotion. If you're not doing self-promotion, then you better hire someone to do it, right? If you're too shy about self-promotion, then okay, great, get someone to do it. But if that's not within your budget, or if that's not the most important thing for you to do right now, then shameless self-promotion is one of the ways to go, right? And it's another
thick skin.
Yeah, it's another conversation to overcome. That's right. So I think that's one of the challenges.
Can I just also say, because there's something you said earlier, like how, when you first put yourself out on radio, like, because my perception is that you're always more comfortable in the background, but you managed to find a way, right? Your own own version of who you really are. Maybe that's what you should apply onto your social media platform too, right?
That's what I'm doing. That's what I hope to do. That's what I intend to do, actually. So yeah, like, radio DJs, I mean, there are DJs who have a more energetic personality than me, but I kind of feel that that's not me, and I have to do it my own way. And so it doesn't mean that, like I said, just now when I watched the live recording of a variety show, right? Your energy's got to be up there so that what comes out is the right amount of energy. So that is the work that I have to do. So I'm still doing that part of the work, but it doesn't mean that I am like changing who I am so that I can get more people to like or accept me. So I'm trying to lean towards my own way of doing things. Because at the start, you're going to be compared with other DJs and other styles, right? And I'm thinking, so one of the things that a senior said to me was that, don't change yourself to fit into the mold, or don't change yourself to fit into what they expect of you. And I try to keep that, and I try to keep that in the way I do my shows. Okay,
I'm going to just nail you there. When you put yourself out there, it's very easy to be tossed around like a rag doll in a stormy sea. Because for so many reasons, trends, what people want you to be, who you think you should be, and comparing and all that. How do you stay anchored to who you are truly, Andrew? And who are you what did you stay true to? So there's two questions. How do you stay true to yourself? And in your case, what did you stay true to, Andrew, when you say, I know who I am and, I'm not influenced by all that, but how do you know who you are?
Well, I feel like I'm getting a coaching session. Like, this is worth
down
it.
the rabbit hole.
It's down the rabbit hole. Okay. First question, Lin, could you please repeat the first one so that I
How
can
do you
focus on
stay
that?
true to who you are?
Because I go back to the original intention of how I got started, which is I watched this person do his shows, and that you realize that it's not about yourself. So one of the things to share with me is that, like, you're not talking, you're not speaking over your audience, like you're with them as a friend. And that's the way he approaches his shows. And I think, because I think I have the luxury of not having like a DJ dream since I was young. Like, I've never thought of that. If I had that, then maybe I would have the false notion that a DJ should be a certain way.
Right.
But I didn't have that. And I got in, I stumbled upon it, and I fumbled, and I realized that, oh, this is the way that you can do your show. And so I try to stay true to that. And this was the same person who told me that, don't change yourself to fit into a mold or what people expect of you. So there's a starting point. There's definitely some form of influence in that, right? So our style, and it's also the mentorship or the training that I'm getting, because our style is we're entertaining, but also more grounded. Like, we don't try to be high all the time, because that doesn't make sense, right? If you hang out with your friends, there are going to be moments whereby it's more mellow. Doesn't mean that it's not fun or you're not interested, but because that's natural and that's normal. And so we don't try to be like, whoa, like, hi, we don't energy all the time, but it's still entertaining. It's still a show, but it's more grounded. And that's what we try to do, that aspect, right? And so one of the things is, how do you stay true to yourself? It's also recognizing that, the question about the real you is ever evolving, right? It's an ongoing conversation. And so early on, I mentioned about like introversion and extroversion, and there are different parts of ourselves. And so what I like to think is that, like, we are inclined to a certain characteristic or character trait. Like, maybe some people think I'm more suitable behind the scenes, or more shy, I'm more reserved. And sure, you can have your inclinations. And I was also talking about like learning behavior from speakers and other personalities that I've seen, and trying to install their characters and behaviors into myself. But the thing about that is that those are useful skills to have. You don't discard them. Oh, these are not the real me, and then you discard them and you toss them aside. No, but these are useful skills to have. So there are different parts of ourselves. There are some parts that we're more inclined to, but your inclination is not your definition.
What
right?
I just got chat on by some wisdom. Let me write that down.
Right. So what you're inclined to, that doesn't define you. Right. So don't it's not cast in stone. Don't put yourself in a box. Like, you might think like, oh, I'm a coach today. I'm not really someone who puts myself out there. This is humble bragging. This is not me. Okay, you're more inclined towards that. Okay, that doesn't define you at all. You got to find a way that is done by you in your own way.
So basically, it's the journey. Like, you can't give them an answer, right? Because you're not giving them any answer. You're just saying that you got to find out who you are, and you got to learn to stick to that.
Right. Yeah, in a way, just like what a good coach would do to me.
Okay, we turn it around. Andrew, how do you know when you are not you?
Okay. I think I'll feel a sinking feeling after that, because what we do is that I'll always, look back on my show and reflect, right? So same like coaches, you think back about the training sessions, or if you record yourself, then you can, look back at your own session. So what I have, I'm very fortunate, I have Facebook Live. I can just relook it, or I can just download the audio segments and I just listen to it again. And so that's the learning process. So when I know that I'm not myself is when I have a sinking feeling in my heart in this area over here, and I feel that something is off. But the way I approach it is, again, said to me by the same person, the same DJ, same senior. What he said was that, the thing about DJ is that what you say on air disappears. Meaning to say, if you've had a good day, that day is gone. If you had a good day, call it a day. because tomorrow you start again. What you say on air disappears. It's just words that disappears into thin air. Something like coaching, right? You ask a question, the session is over, But similarly, if you had a bad day, call it a day, because it disappears too. Like tomorrow you get to start over again. So whether if you had a good day or a bad day, you get to start over the next day.
So it's kind of like not being attached to how the outcome or how the experience itself is.
Kind of, but that's not to say that when you've had a good day, you don't pat yourself on the back. You still celebrate. Tomorrow we go again.
I think you're not making it you. You're not saying, crap, I said that, I suck, I'm stupid, what I say that, and then you make it your identity, right? And then you end up filling your bag with all these things, and then you after a while it becomes Santa Claus, but you're not exactly carrying gifts.
But then again, you will go through that process. It's just how long, right? It's just how long.
Good point. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
For being so honest. Yes.
2 hours or 2 weeks or the rest of your life. And you carry that conversation with you. Yeah. You're going to go through that,
So I think anybody who wants to play this game of putting yourself out there is knowing from the beginning that you will lose yourself because the game is such, and to quickly find yourself back when that happens, to have that awareness when you're off, when you're not being real, when you're being sidetracked, and to quickly bring yourself back on track. Because like what you just said, it's either 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years.
That's right.
Jada, why are you grinning like an idiot?
No, because I actually sorry. I'm really still behind. Like I'm really still stewing on the part where Andrew was saying your inclination is not your definition, and I was just really still like, how would this translate to me? Like, my inclination is not my definition.
Karina says
it's like
I'm smiling because I'm still in my thoughts on that. I'm sorry.
but wait, Andrew says, Karina says, that is some corporate goal that I'm bringing to my team. She's bringing back to my team.
Thank you.
But I would translate that as whether you are an introvert, it doesn't matter. Whether you are an extrovert, it doesn't matter, because your future doesn't have to be shaped by your past. It is, when we talk about a future being created, and a brand is a future, a reputation is a future, it's building that future. Maybe it's to come from what you want to build and create from there, as opposed to, I've always been shy and I don't think I can do it. And then you can't create from there.
I think also another, I mean, I'm also just recollecting everything that's been talked about and we unpacked, right? And it's also, we said something about how when we put ourselves out there, we kind of have an expectation of like being seen as the idealized or the perfect version. We want others to see us as the idealized or the perfect version of who we are. But it also means if going by what you say of your inclination, we also need to let go of all those expectations too, and just go. And if it's a good day, great. If it's not, then it's another day.
Yeah.
Right. So if your inclination is not your definition, you get to try different things, let go of what people think about you, and that's how you find out who you are when you put yourself out there. And it's an ongoing process.
Let's ask everybody. So all of us on the call, like it's tradition, okay? All of us on the call and everybody listening in, where are you the most comfortable inside? So what, how, when or where are you the most comfortable? Because then that place is easy for you to shine from.
Well, my first answer is on my bed, but I kind of get that's not where you're coming from. So
that is not today's topic,
like,
Andrew.
Okay, all right.
Talk about
Just
something
wanted to
else,
be
then.
sure.
Okay, I was about to pimp you, but maybe that's not appropriate.
But that's comfort
So
zone, right?
when I like definition, like so I'm an extrovert, and when I came onto this talk show, I had to constantly check myself to stop talking so much, like to let Jada talk, or like to not talk over Jada, because I was like, Lin, shut up.
And I'm super comfortable listening and just being there and listening and giving that space. So I'm
Then it won't be a talk show. It will be
You know
Lin's
what?
show with
Introverts love extroverts. Just talk, I'll just give you the space to talk.
friends.
show. It's not a listen to Lin's show.
Like I'm fine not being in the limelight, right, Jada?
So so limelight on or off? When are you the most comfortable? So I can go first because obviously I asked that question. I thought of something. I've always, the thing is having this master coach title tagged to you is that I always feel like it comes with some kind of expectation that everything I say is going to be like gold dropping out of my mouth. Sometimes I'm wise, sometimes I'm not. Okay. But I realize that I cannot just be serious and like wise and intelligent and serious all the time. I feel so stuffed up. That's not me. I mean, and you guys know, right? Lin is fun. Lin is crazy. Lin needs to have fun. Lin needs to have fun. And I think that point where I found that the X, the Venn diagram, and in the middle, it's about being wise, which is something I value a lot, but having fun. Like I don't have to be trapped in this thing. A master coach has to be serious and smart all the time. And I love to. So it's just being childish, being fun, just whatever. That is that comfort within me that I know when I tap into, I don't have to be afraid because that's actually where I can shine. Or more like because I'm comfortable doing that, I feel I shine more than trying to be just intelligent. I feel suffocated.
It's like finding that balance of the different sides of you.
More of knowing where to lean in to where you feel really comfortable. What's your answer? So this is a question to everybody listening in. Where within you do you feel the most comfortable? Like you are comfortable with yourself. Because guys, that's it, right? You have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to embrace yourself. Like, because
real you.
Because
that's the real you.
That is the real you. That's where your light and your spark comes from. And when you are real and you put yourself out there and people scoff, well, too bad for them lah. Right? As opposed to you're not real, you put yourself out there, and then because you're an illusion to begin with, it will shatter when everybody else rejects it. How? I bought you a lot of time to think.
I know, I'm thinking really hard.
It's an MCC question, is it? That's why. Oh, I'm so
smart. Flying over ahead.
Andrew, you got an answer?
I can go before you.
Go.
You have some time to think. Okay, so one of the things I want to bring up before I answer is that when Jada first asked me to join in this call, if it was like maybe 1 year ago, I'll be like, who am I? What do I have to share, right? But when Jada asked me, and where she came from was that she told me about a topic, which is putting yourself out there, and I related it back to her Insta story about her being confronted during the first few episodes of Down the Rabbit Hole, and I relate to that. And I feel that because that we have this relationship between us, like Jada was saying, comrades, right? Partners in crime. And so immediately I was like, yeah, okay, I can join in the call. Instead of having the conversation like, okay, what I have to share, like will the listeners, will the audience get value or any benefits out of it? Who am I to share? Instead of going through all that, it was just like I was comfortable enough to like say, okay, let's do it. So that was one of the comfortable aspects for me. But another thought came to my mind, which is, I was talking about watching the live recording of a variety show in Taiwan. So after the show, I was really young back then. So I was waiting for the hosts to finish their shift, do up their makeup and all that. And I was waiting to take a photo with them. And this particular host, and he was so tired. He was like drained out. But in the show, it's like, whoa, it's dancing and all that. But after that, he's like so drained out, right? And so I feel that at the end of the day, like at the end of a show, if I can just let go of whether I do a good or bad job, but I feel that I'm blissfully spent. Like I've used up all my energy. If you have a goal in mind, like today I'm here to bring entertainment and fun to my listeners and audience. I'm aware of the energetic exchange because you talk about introversion and extroversion. It's just about where you draw your energy from. And if I, give out energy and I feel blissfully spent, I think I'm happy. And that's a comfortable place to be in.
That's nice.
And then I'll sleep well. And therefore, my comfortable place is my bed, right?
Why do we come back to that? But okay, blissfully spent. Okay, right. So it's around purpose and fulfilling that purpose. in that sense, right? Like you were useful, or you were like you gave everything that you got.
Right.
Jada?
I am okay. I'm very comfortable giving people space to talk, which is why I have great friends like Andrew and Lin who like to talk. So I'm very comfortable giving people space to talk, because I like to be in that space to listen to what that person is, because in that space I kind of like allow myself to build a connection to that person. But then also in that space, right, then I also like to just share heartfelt what I really feel. And then all could be in the space to just like be silly and just be myself and just be crazy. So I guess that's where I'm comfortable. I think so. Like be in the space to connect with somebody heart to heart. And then showing who I am also, whether is it craziness or how I really feel about that person. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I hope that gave you some thoughts. I'll put the question in chat. Meanwhile, we have some comments from the audience. So Stephanie says, I love that this reminds us that we have the power to choose. We aren't defined by our comfort zone or what we are currently inclined towards. We always have the power to choose otherwise or more. And I want to say that, you know, if something calls to you, a vision or a role model, so it can be internal, it can be external. It's like how Eric just said, oh, we're going to go live, Lin, and this is the fun part. You know, that thing that you can relate to, that is already a seed that is within you, which means that it already exists within you. It is not something outside. It's not something that's unattainable. But if there's something that pulls you forward to step out and into your light and put yourself out there, whatever that is, you may not feel like you have that 100% or that's entirely you. And most of the time, we don't, right? We will never feel like I'm 100% funny, I'm 100% intelligent, I'm 100% an awesome radio DJ. We have our good and bad days. But as long as you can relate to it, the seed is already inside. So I think it's down to also then what Andrew spoke about earlier around focusing. So don't focus on all the inner conversations that are going to put you down, like what will people think of me, or no, what if I say something wrong, but then focus on that seed. Focus on that seed, because the seed will grow when you water it. You know, what's that saying? Like the grass is greener where you water, essentially. So water the seeds that matter. See, that's like a long story. That's like when I'm channeling.
Wise Lin.
Jada, you wanted to say something? We have a question for Andrew.
Let's take the last question for Andrew. Okay. And Aaron was asking, what keeps your fire burning?
Oh, that's a coach question. Well, because previously Lin also asked me like, what's my end goal? And it's just one of those things that it's quite difficult to articulate into words, right? And I've been thinking about it for a while. So I think the closest that I can come to, because I think this answer is also always evolving, is that due to the position I'm in a privileged position to build a platform by people can share their stories, right? And there are some DJs who go into the studios and turn on the mic and they're thinking like, okay, I'm here to share everything I know with my listeners today. And that's great. And there's some DJs who do that, and that's great. They have a style, they have a personality. But I like to think that where I'm coming from is that I can build a platform that's more of like a place for conversation where people can explore the different aspects of life and figure out certain things together. What do I mean? Like, for example, when I share something on air, like it's a broadcast channel, right? I share about this particular news or this particular topic, and I share my point of view. And a listener texts in, and that's a private message between me and the listener. But it's something that I haven't considered or that I did not share earlier on when I was broadcasting it. And so what I can do is to amplify that one voice. And then when I amplify that voice, like there are other listeners who will be like, oh, that's interesting. Could you send me more information about that? And oh yeah, okay, here's the link that this listener sends me. So it's not me sharing everything I know with my listeners, because everything I know is going to run out one day. It's going to dry up one day, right? But if I can...
You look good, but then Okay, never mind.
What?
I'm sorry,
So
I'm
it's-
supposed to pimp you. Yeah, Angelo.
Yeah,
I
I sense that coming, and I don't think how to catch on to that. But yeah, it's about, so I see myself as more of a facilitator, whereby we all can explore the different aspects of life together. So it's, you see, like finding out who you are, right, and doing it your own style. So I feel that I'm not so much of a personality driven style, although that works, like, the guru or the celebrity, the cult figure even, and everyone wants to hear what he or she has to say. And that's why this jock is super popular. Or maybe it's a shock, what they call a shock jock. He or she always says shocking things, and therefore they get the clout. But that's not me, that's not my style. But I can think of myself as a facilitator among my listeners, because they know so much more than me. Like, I'm here to learn from you. I'm not here to teach you everything I know, but I'm also here to learn from you. And I think keeping that in mind keeps me going and keeps my fire burning, as the question is trying to ask. But more of like, it drives me to continue to learn to be better in my current work. Yeah.
Okay.
Important, right? It's like you need that for sustainability. If not, how do you keep? I mean, like there are days when there are bad days, right? Or there are critics out there, or there are days when you just don't feel like you're on the top of your game, and you need that kind of motivation to keep yourself pushing forward.
Your reason, right? Your reason, like you have to have a clear reason for putting yourself out there. And the reason cannot be, I want more likes, I want people to share me, I want to be super popular. Yes, that can be one of the reasons, but I think finding that inner purpose you have to be very clear about the real game that you're playing.
And if courage is one of our values, then you have to do it.
Huh?
If
What?
courage is one of our values, right? I mean, if you value courage, then you got to put yourself out there.
Right. Okay. So Andrew, let's begin to wrap up. What would you, so maybe share with our audience what to expect, say in the first, 3 to 5 years of putting yourself out there. What are some of the phases that a person goes through? Like early on, we spoke about when you first put yourself out there, it's just about, we often fear not saying the right thing. We often fear making mistakes. And is that normal?
That's normal. And we often fear what people think of us, which is what I talk about, controlling people's perception of you. But the thing is, so what to expect? Well, you're gonna get comments, and that's a good sign that you're putting yourself out there and getting more influence, or getting more people to know about you, because that's where the comments come in. And when you started, you might have a certain idea of what comments you might be getting. But in the end, the comments that will hurt you will come from the random places, will come from the most random places. It's like something that you didn't even imagine, and you just got to be prepared for those. But after a while, you kind of get used to it too. You will be able to get used to it, because like in my case, I get to practice every day, and it's something that you can get used to it, and you kind of know how to manage it better. So what I mean by managing it, right? Like, ignore the trolls, because the extreme negative comments that are like just for the purpose of like getting attention, those would not be useful. But I'm not going to say ignore all criticisms like some people would say, because if you ignore all criticisms, then you're also losing a chance for connection.
You're not in your own bubble, right? Your own, like, I'm such a star kind of bubble.
Right. Okay, so when I say like the criticism that will hurt you will come from the most random places, I'll give an example. So something I got recently was that so we have text messages, right? And so he was saying like, okay, anyway, he don't like the way I present, and there's this remark, it seems like you're not serious about the job.
Wow.
And that hurts. That hurts, because that's not true. Like, you can't judge my intentions, and that is not true. So therefore, I have to explain myself clearly. And so I wrote back, trying to find out what's going on. You see, the thing is, when someone makes a remark, like maybe his energy is like a 2 out of 10, but the energy I receive is like a 10 out of 10 intensity, right? It's like, oh, I'm not serious about my job. Wow, what? That's 10 out of 10 for me, 2 out of 10 for you, like, off the cuff remark for you. So, but then I engage, I try to find out what's going on, and now he's a fan, right? So it's like there's an opportunity for you to learn, right? And you just have to go through this process.
Okay. So it sounds like when you first put yourself out there, you are worried about getting things right, and that's normal. So just focus on getting it right. So it builds your confidence, right? And then when you get past that stage, then when you begin to feel comfortable putting yourself out there, you don't worry so much about accuracy or looking smart or anything, but you begin to think about what's that extra something that you bring. Maybe it's your
personality.
Your flair comes in, your personality comes in. Maybe you value add your program. Like, Jada, I test out different things with different episodes. So then the energy gets shifted to doing those value adding things. And we haven't really gone past that stage, but I would reckon the next stage is really once you have that your basic formula right, then it's really, I don't know, maybe Andrew help me out. What happens once I'm comfortable, I kind of know my formula.
Criticism comes in, handle those while still figuring out what the next level is.
Okay.
So there's always a next level, getting better and better, right?
And then get to a place whereby you can have fun, right? This is where the fun part begins.
Going and having fun.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jada, anything else?
I think we talked so much today. I've definitely hit my quota of words today, I think.
That's good.
So any parting wisdom to the listeners, Andrew? Oh, that's like something you always get. Your listeners. What do you want to say to your listeners?
Oh, this is weird. It's just okay. I appreciate being here, and I appreciate all the comments. Like, it's interesting. Oh, I was telling Lin and Jada, I was like so nervous before coming on, right? And I think it's a good form of nervous anxiety, because before every show, even though I've done different shows, but I still feel that nerve-wracking anxiety, and I think that's good. Last time I wouldn't think so, but now I think that's good because it means I'm serious about it. I am putting myself out there, and I can convert that nervous energy into something fun. Right.
I think to all the coaches who's watching right now, right, whether whichever phase you are at in terms of putting yourself out there, whether you have not done it yet or whether you've begun to do it, I think the only thing is to just keep going. Just keep going, and then you figure out your own formula along the way.
Yeah. So I would wrap up with have two buckets. One bucket is you're very absolutely clear of who you are. Who you are, what you're doing this for, what is your real game. And the other bucket is the on-stage bucket. So, how you need to dress yourself up. I don't mean physically, but how you need to dress yourself up, what your on-air game is like, right? What that social media game is like, but they're two very separate things. So one is constant tweaking, the other one stays constant. I think, being able to separate that, you won't get lost when the going gets tough, because shit will hit the fan. At some point, like whether it's whether you do it onto yourself or whether somebody, insults you or whatever, you get, it will come at some point, or you feel that you didn't do well enough, whatever, that day will come. So it's just having it very clear that that's not who you are.
Right. I like the two buckets. I think I can use it.
Thank you. All right. So thank you, Andrew, for being on. And next week is our very last topic of the success series, and we have Benjamin Loh. So Ben Loh is another one of our comrades who started when we were all 20-something years old. Oh my gosh, we were kids. We were kids when we started this journey. And I've seen how he's transformed into a very influential speaking coach. He talks to all these, he talks for, and he works with all these large companies, and he, talks to like hundreds of people on stage. I've seen him work so hard from the very day he decided he wanted to be a speaking coach, and he constantly put himself out there. So we're gonna unpack with him this last topic on success, which is around perseverance. I nearly said preservation. perseverance. It's not a sexy word, okay? Resilience and perseverance is not sexy at all. Nobody gets turned on thinking about, I want to be resilient and I want to, be able to persevere. But you win the race by outlasting all your competitors, by outlasting all the other runners. Frankly, you can be snazzy, you can have, you can be charismatic, you can be rich, but if you don't finish running the race, you're not going to win. So frankly speaking, perseverance is so super key. So that's going to be our last topic next Tuesday.
Yep.
On success.
Right.
Okay, Andrew, how do we end this? Like, what's the sexiest way to end a show?
See you next week. I don't know.
I can do that too.
Yeah. Oh, but watch Ben, guys. It's awesome. He has his stories of like being bullied and how he overcome those, and how he overcome his youth in the industry that really might not even give him a chance, and how he persevered through those.
Andrew, put into chat your IG handler or your Facebook handler, so whoever.
Okay, will do.
Stuff for you. And
Okay.
anybody wants to reach out to Andrew, you know.
You want to stalk Andrew, you can, okay? You can.
Please do.
All right, good night, guys.
Thank you for
Love
watching,
y'all.
guys.
Thank you, guys.